just waiting for you and me.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of REVlogue. Andy here. I hope that you and your family members are safe and sound from this crazy pandemic. And today we have two fantastic cars from BMW from two different eras. We have the F and the G chassis M Sport. Both cars have the famous inline six and the classic rear-wheel drive. Is the G chassis finally ready to claim its throne back in the ever so competitive sports sedan segment? It's gonna have to be remotely close to the E46 chassis in my opinion, but we'll see. Let's go.
I like the evolution of the United kidney grille, but the pattern itself, it's as if they couldn't make up their mind between the vertical bars or the diamond pattern. I cannot help but to think that BMW copied Audi's metallic finishes on the S and the RS variants of their cars when I see these wing mirrors. And the butchered Hofmeister kink. The current Gundam-like faceted, crazy broken up surface trends. It's something that BMW rolled out. I'm not entirely in love, but kudos to BMW for breaking out of its traditional mold. The taillights do remind me of Lexus, but I remember BMW showing a concept of the 8 Series first. Leave me your comment on who you think did it first. Interesting that they added more front brakes and less in the rear. Of course, the fixed caliper looks better on the F30, but there's no noticeable difference in feel between the two. I say the newer car brakes better, actually. I really like the attention to the key with the M colors. I like that the car unlocks by itself when you just approach it instead of pressing any buttons. And thank you BMW for not adding a gaudy brand logo on the lighting. The cabin, it instantly makes the older cabin feel old. I really like the sharp angles and the gauge cluster to the air vents. The new head-up display is much larger and it's easier to read. So this is the new lady in charge of the 3 Series interior design. Doesn't she look like she's made of logical sense? Yep. I'm happy to report that there's still that very orderly German feel without overly complicating things like the old icon and the HVAC buttons. It's not all positives though. I really do wish they offered ventilated seats like Cadillac and Lexus. I hear that this option is available on some other countries other than US. Also, the overall feel and materials are kind of a step backwards, surprisingly. I think it's okay because you get more meaningful features like the touchscreen UI and a big digital gauge cluster. But those with the keen eyes will notice that the leather on the F30 is much better. They skimped on applying the metal finishes on the back of the new paddle shifter, which I find kind of strange. They look metal from the front, but not metal touch in the back. Even the blinker switch, actually, the mechanics feel just slightly cheaper versus the older car. But of course, this is a BMW. The ergonomics is just excellent, always offering one of the best seating positions where you can go super low and have the steering wheel right up to your chest. And of course, I was the dumb one and lost all the audio files, so we'll do a voiceover here. You know, the older 2015 3 Series, I wouldn't say it's a tight cabin, but I would also say it's not a crazy luxury big space in the back. I'm about 6'1", and I have just enough space to feel comfortable enough for decently long drives, but obviously it wouldn't be the most comfortable space. So in the new car, the biggest difference is the head space. The legroom space doesn't feel that much different, actually, with my driving position set in the front seat. Yeah, the biggest difference is the shoulder room and the headroom, but the legroom feels very similar despite it being a slightly bigger car.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but for me, the reason why somebody would buy a BMW is because you want that perfect balance between softness, the comfortness, and the sportiness, right? The classic BMWs that we've grown to love, the E46, for example, I would say it has the best judged damping of any road car I've driven. It's just the right amount of soft and stiff, right in the middle, where it's not so harsh, but yet still delivers a very good sporty feel. Now, I understand that most of you had a complaint about the F30 being a little bit too comfortable. Definitely catered towards more of that soft feel. You know, obviously I think BMW targeted the likes of the C-Class from the Mercedes or the Lexus IS being tuned more for the daily comfort. And you know, you can't really fault them for trying to try different settings to cater to a bigger audience. But I'm happy to report that the G chassis is definitely going back towards the older BMW feel, where it's a little bit more stiff. Not to say that it's overly stiff and very uncomfortable. I think the damping is just superbly judged in this car. And then, you know, of course, when you mix that in with the bigger, wider chassis, it really makes for a very grown-up feel when you drive this car. I think, I mean, maybe it's the size, but this car really, it even feels like not really a 3 Series anymore because it's so grown up. Kind of something in between a 3 and a 5. But yeah, I think it's matured pretty well, and the overall damping is extremely comfortable yet very capable. Old school BMW feel. The motion of this car is just really well controlled. Very, very high quality damping, and I think the overall chassis stiffness has been really increased. Yeah, it feels like a very big and rigid car. And for those of you that's been to the BMW museum, it's very apparent that they are an engine company first. That just happens to do the chassis very well. And this car is no exception. It does, you know, again, the body control is really good, but undoubtedly the party piece of this car is the engine. This B58 engine with forged internals, oh my god, this thing is just, the way it responds. I'm not even going to downshift. I'll just put my foot down. Wowza, holy crap. Yeah, I mean, this thing, it's very hard to believe that it's a forced induction motor. It just responds extremely well. Very fat mid-range torque. What more car do you need on a public road? I mean, this thing is already a beast. Jeez. And going back to the suspension tuning, they apparently stiffened the front rebound 50% as well as the rear compression. I don't know all the ins and outs of these crazy technical, you know, suspension terms, but what I've gathered is that I think, again, going with the addition of the square setup on the tires, this car is meant to rotate. That's pretty apparent, especially when you put it through some of these corners. You know, I can't help but keep thinking of wanting to drive this car on the track. It's just, I think its capabilities are well beyond what you can explore on the public roads. M3 in front of us. I mean, do you really need an M3? Let's see. Yep. Oh yeah, the rear end, it wants to just come around. Yep, definitely more of a rotational feel. I won't push it too much on public roads, but oh my god. it's definitely rotation happy. Put some front weight up there. Oh god, the front, oh, now the rear is getting a little bit squirmy over there again. And yeah, the square setup tires and the new revised suspension, it's all made to party. That's all it is. I'd love to take this car on a track. Oh man. So I told you the engine is the party piece of this car, but another really important factor is the ZF 8-speed transmission. So you know, the F chassis also has the ZF 8-speed, but I think on this G chassis, they've really paid attention to the software engineering, the logics. I mean, for the most part, the ZF 8-speed is an excellent transmission. You know, it shifts really snappy when you're just on it. It's extremely smooth when you're just wanting to be, you know, cruising comfortably. The newer car does everything exactly the same, but better. It shifts faster, yet it's more smooth. And it doesn't have that weird, you know, sometimes the ZF 8-speed on the F chassis doesn't really know if it wants to be in the second gear or it should drop to the first gear when you're crawling in the low speeds at times. But yeah, this car, it doesn't exhibit any of that weirdness. It's just extremely intuitive. But you know, this car is so smooth and so fast, and it's just so easy to drive fast, frankly. It almost makes me wonder, is that what BMW drivers want? Do they want effortless speed like this? Or do they want to be involved in the driving experience? If I'm honest, I think they're reserving this more emotional, involving driving experience for the true M. So verdict, is the new one twice the money of the 2015? Yes. It's so mechanically perfect. It's really comfortable, really fast, stays very flat. The engine is just a crazy party piece. Yeah, I would have to say that BMW did an excellent job tuning this car. However, despite the fact that you can tune this car from the factory with the additional cooling fans and the oil cooler and just go ham on the track experiences, it's still not that 100% heart-filling M experience, the true, genuine M experience. It's more of the emotional senses that it's lacking, whether it's just a slightly muted steering feel or the slightly quieter exhaust note. But every time I drive this, I keep thinking to myself, what more performance do you really need out of a car, especially on a public road? In fact, what we get out of this package is a technically brilliant car that leaves you feeling just a slightly bit cold. Again, the steering feel is slightly muted and the exhaust could be just a tad bit louder. It's as if this car wasn't allowed to be the true M, even though the marketing folks from BMW really wants you to believe that this is really an M product. The G chassis M Sport is one of those really smart kids in your school that got excellent grades, but he wasn't going to skip classes with you to go do bad stuff. If it's my money and I want to buy an M product, it's still the E46 M3, but technically I cannot fault anything out of this car for all of its intents and purposes. Thanks for tuning into another episode of REVlogue. Bye now.